We're about to dive into a story that's been unfolding for 1,300 years, the story of China's Hui people. And it is a truly remarkable tale. It's all about how two massive forces, the Islamic faith and ancient Chinese civilization, didn't just meet, but actually blended together to create something totally new and enduring.
So, the big question is, how did this even happen? How did one specific corner of northwest China become this major hub for one of the country's largest Muslim groups? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we have to go way back in time, starting with the very first seeds of this community, long before NingXia ever became their heartland.
Okay, so our story really gets started during China's great Tang and Song dynasties. This was a golden age of trade and cultural exchange, especially along that legendary Silk Road.
It all kicks off right here in 651 CE. And this wasn't just about business. It was about people putting down roots. The first Arab and Persian Muslim merchants showed up, and they didn't just trade their goods and leave. Nope, they stayed. They built communities in these bustling port cities, and over generations, they started marrying local Chinese people, slowly becoming a real part of the fabric of society.
Back then, the official term for these settlers was Fan-Ke, which literally translates to foreign guests. And that name tells you so much about how they were seen. Welcomed, but still distinct, still outsiders. This is the community that would, centuries down the road, become the ancestors of the Hui people we know today.
So for a few centuries, things are moving along. But then the story takes a huge, dramatic turn in the 13th century with the rise of the Mongol Empire. This period of just unbelievable chaos and conquest would almost by accident create a new homeland for China's Muslims and really speed up their integration.
The whole thing starts with absolute destruction. In 1227, the Mongol armies, led by Genghis Khan himself, just completely wiped the Western Xia kingdom off the map, and that kingdom was located exactly where NingXia is today. The devastation was so complete that historians call it a population vacuum, basically a huge, empty, but very strategic piece of land. So how do you fill a vacuum like that? Well, to secure the area, the Mongols started moving people in, soldiers, artisans, officials from their new territories in Central Asia. And it turns out, a whole lot of these people happened to be Muslims. And then, in this amazing twist of fate, the Mongol prince put in charge of this whole region was himself a devout Muslim.
And that prince was Ananda, the grandson of the great Kublai Khan. He was actually raised by a Muslim family, and his faith, as the history books tell it, was totally unshakable. So he didn't just rule from a distance. He brought his faith right with him, building mosques and really making Islam a central part of his government.
And if you want to understand just how influential this guy was, get this. Under his leadership, an absolutely staggering 150,000 of his own Mongol troops converted to Islam. This wasn't some small fringe community anymore. This was the start of a massive demographic shift in northwest China, with NingXia right at the center of it all.
And all of this leads to a really crucial turning point. By 1235, these Muslim communities, now called Huihui, weren't foreign guests anymore. They were officially recognized as registered households. They were citizens. They became essential to the Yuan government, holding high-ranking positions and managing trade across the empire.
So, the Mongol Yuan dynasty eventually falls, right? And the new Ming dynasty comes in wanting to bring back traditional Chinese culture. Now, you might think this would be a threat to the Hui, but it actually became an opportunity for them to forge a new identity, blending even deeper into Chinese society.
The first Ming emperor, Shu Yanzhang, was all about cultural uniformity. He discouraged foreign-looking clothes and languages and really promoted Han Chinese customs. And this policy directly pushed the Hui to adapt in some very visible, very cultural ways. And here is a super fascinating result of that policy. To fit in with the Chinese custom of having surnames, lots of Hui families had to pick one. Well, the Prophet Muhammad's name, when written out in Chinese characters, starts with the sound Ma. So thousands of families just adopted Ma as their surname. It's a little piece of history you can still see everywhere today.
But listen, this wasn't just about blending in and disappearing. It was also a period of incredible growth and prosperity. I mean, they were building these magnificent structures, like the Najihu Grand Mosque in the 1500s. That just shows you how organized and successful the Hui community was, building institutions that would stand for centuries. Okay, so as we move forward into the Qing dynasty and into the modern era, the Hui presence in NingXia doesn't just stick around. It becomes the single defining feature of the entire region.
This quote from 1781 just paints an incredible picture. It's describing this huge stretch of land, hundreds and hundreds of miles long, as being entirely Hui villages. That shows you just how deep their roots were. NingXia was, without a doubt, their heartland.
And this long history has literally left its mark all over the landscape of NingXia. You can see it in the famous mosques, of course, but also in these really unique Sufi shrines they call gongbei. These are these beautiful domed tombs that honor spiritual leaders, and they're a totally distinct feature of Chinese Islam. And this brings us right up to the present day. The culmination of this entire long journey is that today, NingXia is officially the Ningxia Hui Autonomous Region. It's the only provincial-level region in all of China that's actually named for the Hui people. Their 1,300-year journey has a permanent spot right on the map.
So in the end, the epic journey of the Hui isn't really a story of one culture replacing another. It's a story of this dynamic, incredible fusion. It's really a testament to what can happen when faith meets civilization.
You know, the story of the Hui is just such a powerful reminder that identity is never a fixed thing. It's always being shaped by migration, by faith, and by that incredible human ability to create something totally new out of diverse traditions. Which really leaves us with a pretty big question. What can this 1,300-year journey teach us about how cultures blend, adapt, and create something new?